What's up, everyone? Welcome to my corner of the internet. I'm your host, Ryan Kramer, and this is Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments, the leading global payments provider helping sellers keep more of their hard-earned money. What's up, everyone? Another episode of Crossover Commerce coming at you. This is Ryan Kramer, host of this show. Welcome to episode 51 of Crossover Commerce, presented by PingPong Payments. PingPong provides marketplace sellers and entrepreneurs global solutions for controlling their domestic and international funds. An account with us helps sellers save when they send and receive international payments. Check out PingPong Payments below in the comments section if you want to learn more information. Again, thanks everyone for joining us today live on Crossover Commerce. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and YouTube. So thank you for joining us live. Or if you're listening to this at a later date, thanks for downloading us on Amazon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you just choose to consume your podcast. Whether you're running on the beach or you're just listening to tips and knowledge in the e-commerce space, thanks for choosing us to listen to. We have a really exciting guest on today. A little bit about our guest. Again, we are live this week. We are going live every single day this week. So again, tomorrow we'll also be going live, almost doing I would call it a seller spotlight. But today we're going to kind of peel back the layers and how to build scalable FBA teams. We're going to talk about that more in detail. But first, about our guest. If you haven't heard about him, he is actually scaled 3 FBA businesses to 7 figures in sales and exited one just under $1 million. So that's huge money we're talking about, everyone. All while traveling the world thanks to the support of his amazing team, which you can actually leverage now too. He believes success is better when shared, and so founded Sellerplex to help support other entrepreneurs building better, more fun, and more profitable businesses. He's also enjoyed lots of yoga, and you can follow him on Instagram as well. Welcome to the show, Nate Ginsburg. Nate, welcome to Crossover Commerce.
And thank you. Thanks. That's quite the intro. I love that the intro video. It's great music, energy. Recognize some of the other people on there. So
right,
yeah, man.
And those are some of our beginner, sellers and experts in the field. So we've been lucky enough to kind of use them as like our path moving forward. And I have to add, I feel like now this is episode 51. I need to like do it speed, like triple the amount of time so I can get all the faces in here for people who have spent time with me on this show. So thanks for spending the morning with us where you are. It's 8 o'clock here. What time is it where you're located? And maybe just the background, like where you're located in the world.
Yeah, it's also 8 o'clock here, but 8 in the morning.
Early in the morning for you.
Yeah, I've been so I'm in Thailand, and yeah, I've been doing I'm in ketosis, or been doing keto for the last mostly on for the last few months, and it's overall good. But one of the things that the reason I'm doing it is like the kind of clarity, energy, and one thing that I've noticed is when I'm on keto, I wake up really early, and so yeah, don't mind I've been up for a little while so far already.
You got stuff to do, man, in the world. Like you got people to talk to, businesses to help run, and that's what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah, it's not, all these things they're not gonna do themselves. So
exactly, you got to pave the way. Sometimes it's waking up early. So how long have you actually been there? You're not originally, obviously from the other side of the world. You moved there on purpose. You decided to travel the world because of Amazon's and e-commerce platform. So when did you move?
Sorta. So let's see. The abridged version is I was actually, so after university, I wanted to do something fun and adventure and travel, and it was I graduated college in 2010, which is like the worst job market ever, and I just wasn't really interested in
2012. Don't worry.
Yeah, I just wasn't really interested in just like doing something that was going to be boring. And anyway, so that led me to teach English in Korea, where which I did I had a year contract after I graduated university, and that was the first time being in Asia, and yeah, got to travel around a lot, good holidays. And anyway, so on my way back from Korea, I was backpacking through Thailand. I mean, Southeast Asia. And I was in Thailand actually up in this little town called Pai. It's a couple hours north of where I am now in Chiang Mai. And when I was there, I met the first like digital nomad. Although I don't even know if that was like a word at the time. I mean, this was in 2011. Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like
probably not.
Yeah, this was like literally almost 10 years ago. And I met this guy who like that, basically turned me on, inspired me to, turned me on to online business and really inspired me to want to, do what this guy was doing and have something that I could do from my computer while I could travel and have freedom and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, that's how, that was like the original dream. And, got back home, got to work, basically failed pretty hard for a while, spent all my money, moved back home with my parents. And
the traditional like out of college, story, right? You go travel and then move back home with mom and dad.
Yeah. And so, but during this time and actually, relating to, all the hiring and team stuff is so like, I met this guy, Andrew in Pi, and was so inspired to want to do what he was doing. But the thing is, I didn't have any skills. I was like 23-year-old recent college grad. I just taught English for a year in Korea, not building too much applicable skills to use for internet marketing and online business and anyway, but one thing that when I met Andrew, he told me about that really, it was like a big like light bulb moment for me, is he introduced me to Upwork, which is now Odesk. Right. And he told me that he had a couple of VAs in Indonesia and in India or wherever in the world. And he just told me like, I mean, about these people that were working for him and how much he was paying them. And after hearing him kind of explain to me what he was doing, and then when I started poking around on Odesk, now Upwork, it like a light bulb went off, and it was just like, oh my God, like okay, so I don't know how to do anything, but here's a platform where there's millions of people that know how to do literally anything. And so, yeah, like from that, like, I don't know, it's just like, it was so obvious to me what, that this was an opportunity. And so what that looked like is when I got back home and started to try to make something happen for myself, I, was eventually able to start finding some opportunities like project managing, internet marketing stuff, like building websites or doing SEO. And, I don't personally know how to build websites. I'm not, also personally very skilled at all at SEO, but because I knew how to, hire, I was able to start, making money and finding some opportunities and, more through project managing and anyway. And so from that, like, that's what allowed me to like take off from my parents. Like I moved back home. I was trying to get something going for myself. And that's how I first started making any money online, was really, finding, I was finding some different projects, and then I would, more just project manage and get the right people in place. And so, all right. So did that, took off, started traveling, and, I joined this community called the DC, which I don't know. The podcast Tropical MBA, great people. And so, yeah, I joined this community in like the beginning of 2013. Yeah, so this community, they have their big used to be their annual event in Bangkok. Hopefully it'll happen again one of these years.
One of these days, years.
Yeah. And so yeah, it was that community that I had joined, and the community was all about location independent business. And so yeah, from that community is what kind of got me back out to Asia, a couple years after I was backpacking there. And yeah, I came over and I think like, me, I think guys like you, we're people persons.
Right. We like talking a lot to people.
Yeah. People. Right. Like talking, knowing, I mean, all the best things in my life have come as a direct result of the people that I've, been fortunate to meet and spend time with. And this, and so coming out to Bangkok for my first big DC event, like that was the next thing that totally just like, changed my life. And here, this is when all of a sudden I met, there was like hundreds of people. I think it's like a couple hundred people that were doing all these kinds of amazing things, all this, such diverse and successful and cool, businesses and lifestyle and health and just all, that community was basically people that like read the 4-hour work week and then, did it, quit their job, started, whatever. And yeah, it was just like, I mean, it was and is an amazing group of people. And now it's, a lot of my, closest friends, and some of them I've known for, 8 years. And anyway, so that's what got me back out to Asia. And then, found myself, I moved to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, which is where there was a really big, like, online entrepreneur community hotspot. So a lot of the people from the event that I attended were, they moved or kind of made their way to Ho Chi Minh, and people were, just like hanging out, co-working at cafes, partying. It was, it was epic. Like that, that became home for the next like 4 years. It was, home base in Ho Chi Minh. And that was like, man, like such an amazing time in my life. And now, there's kind of like this core crew. Some of which are, my closest friends that we, were on and off living there together. And yeah, we all like look back on this time in, living in Saigon. That was just, it was amazing. And anyway, so that's kind of what got me in Asia. So I'm not originally from Asia, but have been around.
I think I was going to say the accent gives it away. I don't think like you grew up in Asia. So you've been there, I would say, if I'm doing my math correctly, been there better part of 6-7 years or so, maybe 8?
Well, yeah. So the
off
thing,
and on.
Very off and on. Most of the time that I was living in Vietnam was probably spending about half the year there, and then the other half. I've been traveling a lot, was traveling a lot, through that stretch, and around Asia, Europe, going back to America, and yeah, it was so. Last year was supposed to be mostly in America. I was in Bali in last March and, had a flight coming back to America, a couple weeks later when, COVID was escalating and, borders were starting to close. And so basically, one day I woke up there and was like, all right, well, I gotta make a decision of where I want to be to ride this out and, get there ASAP. And so for a variety of reasons, picked Thailand and, literally booked a flight that day. It was the morning. I booked a flight that night, flew into Thailand, a couple days before they closed the borders, and have been here since. And, was not imagining when I made that decision that here we'd be almost a year later and I'd still be here. But I gotta say, it's actually, and look, I know, it's been a challenging year in a lot of ways, but the last year in Thailand and for a lot of other reasons, for me personally, it's been one of the, I feel weird saying this almost, but like, it's been one of the best years of my life. I've had so much, it's been a catalyst for so much like personal growth and development, personally, professionally, and fortunate, now I'm, mostly involved in things in the FBA and e-commerce space, which fortunately has done well during this last year and is, I think, poised to continue to do well. And definitely feel for industries that are, more negatively affected, but at the same time, just trying to, do the best with what we've got and, fortunate and grateful to be in a space that's, actually, benefited and has been growing even more because of the, craziness going on in the world. And so so yeah, that gets me to here, still in Thailand.
Still in Thailand. There you go. Are you there just by yourself, or are you there with other people that you know, or what's kind of that atmosphere like?
So I mean, it's a crazy time to be in Thailand the last year. So there's there's like all the Thailand closed the borders, which they closed pretty early, and they I don't know, locked down fairly, I guess, effectively in the beginning. And so as a result of that, there's not really much COVID in Thailand. And so there actually was, for like a 6-month stretch, there was actually no COVID, like 0 cases. And
Right.
And then a couple months ago, it kind of someone
we won't name. I was gonna say we're not gonna name names, but we know
it's actually. I mean, yeah, no, I mean it's crazy. I mean it's crazy. You know, people, they literally like skip the border off. Coming from Myanmar that brought COVID back. And anyway, I mean it's like relatively quite moderate. I mean, life here, like things are open. You go to cafes, you go to restaurants, they're bar. Like it's not something that, on a date, honestly, my day-to-day, life is pretty like it's not super affected by COVID, which has been nice. I mean,
I was gonna say, you're probably in the minority of the world that you can operate almost like a day-to-day. I was actually talking the other day with my wife. We were like, shoot, like Valentine's Day is coming up, like, and then we looked at each other, and you go down the rabbit hole, you're like, can't go to a restaurant, or like not many are open, or like if you are, like you don't feel comfortable yet. And we're like, when's the last time we've been out to a restaurant and sat down in person? Like, we're maybe in a minority for people, but like just thinking about that, over a year, maybe a year now has passed since we felt comfortable to do that. And again, that's up to each individual, but location.
But that's some of the stuff. I mean, it's true. Like, obviously, I know a lot of people in America, and, talk to my family, and it's, it's one of the things, and like that, it's clear that the pandemic has really, like, it's shifted people's behaviors, like you were saying, you have this thing in the back of your head. Oh, like, should I go to that restaurant? Should I, get in that cab? Should I do this? And like, on one hand, I recognize that because I'm not living under a rock and, see this from other people, but then makes me even more, grateful to be in a place like Thailand where that's not been my experience. And so again, wasn't planning on being here for, the entire year. And I'm not really sure when I'm going to leave. I mean, not in a rush, to be honest. And, another benefit. So there's, not really much COVID, and it's also with no tourists. Another, positive is that, Thailand's one of the biggest tourism economies in the world. And so, I mean, they're hurting from that perspective. But what that means for the people that are here is like, basically like 70 or 80% off, like all the nicest accommodation. And so like, in the last year I've stayed at some incredible, hotel rooms, like literally on the beach over, you open the blinds and you're just like on the beach, like overlooking, some incredible villas, awesome, like, everything 70% off, 80% off. And, which is nice. I mean, it's good.
It's not a bad thing when you can take advantage of stuff like that. And I know like people are booking trips for maybe a year or two out. Like, I know I've had a trip postponed, and I know I'm looking forward to doing like a paid vacation that's already paid for. I'm just waiting for 2022 to go through Italy again, like with my wife, as like, just in time, like it's going to be nice. But yeah, in the meantime, but like you and I work in an industry where we're super lucky. You can work from a laptop, you can work from somewhere just with internet connection, and just knowing people like, hey, I'm going to go stay at a beach house, work, bring my gear, and I'm just going to, be away from people. And we're allowed to do that. We don't have to go to an office if you don't want to. You can just collaborate and do that yourself. And that's kind of an interesting segue, I think, like to your business. You and Sellerplex, you developed Sellerplex after you sold your businesses, correct? It wasn't a joint venture before you sold?
No. So yeah. Okay. So what happened is I sold my business a couple of years ago, and Okay, well, backing up a little bit. So I mentioned I kind of like got started with hiring, like I said, really early in my career. And like, that's the first kind of thing that really opened up opportunities for me to start, making money for myself. And, like anything, hiring, it's a skill. And, I just, I got started really early. And so, fast forward when I was building my FBA business, that was, I'd been hiring for a while. I, had some pretty good experience and systems and, approach to it. And so that enabled me to have an amazing team. And, I, through my, entrepreneurial education and, also grateful to have, I said, I'm a people person. I love events, and I've, been to amazing events over the years. And as a kind of like, North Star guiding light for, most of my 20s was really just, surrounding myself with people that I could learn from. And whether that was in, Ho Chi Minh City, which was a huge part of that. I mean, attending events in, literally all over the world. And it was just like, and that's really what fueled a lot of my traveling. I mean, it's easy to look at the digital nomad and, I don't know, whatever they say. And, you're on a beach and, a 4-hour work week and,
not really working. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I don't know, I've always been very driven. And so that, and so me, like my travel was much more fueled by there's an event going on in, in Chiang Mai. Sure. I'll fly over for that. Or, there's some events in Europe, and then it's in, Budapest and Barcelona and Lisbon, and really would just do a lot of my travel was really fueled by, either events or people that I knew there that I could, that I liked and wanted to spend more time with. And anyway, so I was able to learn a lot. I mean, have been and still able to learn a lot from, the amazing people in my life. But yeah, when it came to building my FBA business, I knew, I had this really clear idea of what the ideal role for me as the business owner should be, as well as what it shouldn't be. I had, I'd learned from, much more successful business owners than myself. What's the CEO, job description looks like and what it doesn't look like. And so that, coupled with my, the experience that I had in my career from hiring, led me to, build an amazing team. And so, my FBA business, and, we had, I don't know, there's a dozen people or 10 to 15 or, something that, at that, when that business was at its peak. And, I did it, I had, people managing my supply chain, my account admin, my Amazon marketing, new product development. I had a general manager, and, these were great people, and that allowed me to really focus on the big picture, the direction, company culture, vision, all the stuff that the CEO should be doing, and none of the stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And so after I sold my business, we got bought, actually. This was by it was a big Chinese Amazon operation. I don't know,
right.
hundreds of people. And so they didn't need my team. And so sold the business, but still had my team. And I was like, oh, well, I've got these people that, they've been running my business for me the last years. And I knew that I had this, I knew I had great people, and that other sellers didn't have as much experience on the hiring side as I had. It's maybe we can start, helping other sellers. I've got these people that are already, they're already trained and experienced with all the things that are needed to run an FBA business. And maybe there's some people that don't like hiring like I do that, would want help. And so yeah, that was the genesis of Sellerplex. And, I some deep beliefs and truths for me personally, that I believe for, me, you, all of us, is that we should do the stuff that we enjoy and are good at, that give us energy, that make us excited. And the other stuff that is tedious, is energy draining, that we shouldn't do that. Do more of the stuff you enjoy, do less of the stuff you don't enjoy. And, that's where the importance of team building comes in. I mean, business and entrepreneurship is, it's such an amazing, beautiful, creative endeavor. And, you can, there's no rules. You can build anything, however you want, however you can imagine, you can, build your business and your team, around that. And like, I just realized, I guess fairly early that like, wow, like I should build this business to support me playing the role that I want to play, having the impact that I want to have, going in the direction that I want to be going in, and, me in that seat, and then having the people around me that handle everything else. And like, so that's like a lot of the mission behind a lot of what I'm involved with now, whether it's with Sellerplex, and then also now I have a training that's coming out that is basically the DIY version of Sellerplex is done for you, and the training is do it yourself. But it's all aimed at the same stuff to help all of us to do more of what we love, double down on our strengths, and get other people that are better suited to handle the other things in place to do what they do best.
I was gonna say that seems so simple, and I think someone was reading my mind. We have Baptiste showing up and saying hi, gents, and then you were saying like just about the event, or like just in general your mindset about it, how it's so simple, and how he says yeah, it's so powerful. Nate, like he's locked in right now of what you have to say, and I totally agree with that. And obviously Nate and his team, everyone. For those who are, I put it in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can actually comment, and we'll see those live as we're streaming, and you can ask those. But if you download it later, you can obviously check out these links in the description, I should say, with the rest of the content. But for those of you who are checking out and want to learn more about Nate, definitely go check out sellerplex.com. So building out for other people, it seems like a pretty simple, focus. People don't want to hire people, but you're focused on the e-commerce space in general, correct?
Yeah. So here's what I've realized, as I've kind of continued down this, path of trying to, help other people to, unplug from the stuff they don't enjoy so they can, remove themselves as a bottleneck, do more of what they do enjoy, really scale and grow the business better. And when it comes to Amazon businesses, FBA ecom, like there's really a small handful of core functions that all businesses need to, that all FBA businesses need to run. And, these core functions make up your organizational chart, which is something that, again, and like, I don't know where, so I'm a big reader. I love books, audiobooks, I have for a long time. And I don't remember where I kind of was first introduced to this idea of like, the org chart. I think it's a combination of, so like, yeah, the idea of, your organizational chart. And then another book that I've kind of studied, I guess to be honest, is Principles by Ray Dalio, which is amazing book. I don't know if you know it. But yeah, I've gone through that book many times, and he hammers into you that like what you're doing is building a machine. Your business is a machine, and you got to look down on your machine from the highest vantage point. And you got to realize that what you're doing, you're building a business that is really a machine. And like a machine is made up of different parts that all work together to produce an outcome, and a machine. And that's what our business is the same. An FBA business, same thing, made up of, these different pieces that when you put them together, they produce an output. And like, that's really all we're doing here, all business. And when it comes to the FBA business machine, there's, a small handful of core functions that are the same across all FBA businesses. They all need, overwhelmingly the same pieces. And so those pieces are, you're going to need supply chain management, someone to get your goods from point A to point B. We can get into the actual description of what these roles are more if you want, but we got supply chain management. You've got, Amazon account management. And I kind of break that down into two different sections. There's the account admin, as well as then there's like the marketing side. You've got new product development. FBA businesses generally grow by launching more products. So like there's another bucket. And then you've got the finance function, bookkeeping, P&L, cost of goods. I mean, ideally, sending payments. And so those 4 buckets, you got Amazon, supply chain, new product development, and finance. And, there's different ways you can slice it, but like at its core, those, every FBA
I would agree with you.
business-
I would agree with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so a thing, like, as I've thought more about this and stuff that I've realized, and it's like, it's less important about how you define what goes into each of these buckets and, what is supply chain and what is new product development and where's the line between, marketing and admin. And like, that's less important. And what is important is recognizing however you bucket them as these separate functions. And you need to realize this when you're getting started and it's just you, for example, and you're doing, when you start your business, it's usually just you, you're doing everything. And, and that's fine. That's how you start. But, if you ever want to unplug and, be able to remove yourself as a bottleneck and scale and all this kind of stuff, you need to recognize that even though it's you who's doing everything, what you're doing is falling, it's falling into these core buckets, whatever you're doing. And it's important to realize this and see these different buckets, because that's how you're able to then start one by one unplugging yourself from them. So it starts off, it's you doing everything. You're fulfilling the supply chain, Amazon, bookkeeping and new product development functions, as well as the CEO, leader. And you just need to, and look, I mean, like, I have the way that I've, organized my business. Other people can do it differently. Again, it's less, I mean, there are a core set of things that need to be fulfilled. And, again, how you slice and dice it is less important than it's bucketed in these things that you can then identify and like, okay, well, for me, I mean, for like, supply chain, managing that stuff for me was always such a pain. I don't know, like I was living in Vietnam and I'm, trying to coordinate a shipment with my freight forwarders in California. So I'm staying up until 11 p.m., which is there, 9 a.m. And, it sucked. Like, that's not what I wanted to, it's not how I enjoy spending my time. Clearly important to run this type of business, but okay. So that was really unpleasant. And, that wasn't a fun role for me. And so that was one of the first ones, like, okay, well, like, let's get someone else to handle that for me so that I don't have to. And so then I did. So, okay. So then, you unplug from one of those roles and then, customer service admin, that's another, fairly easy one. Most people probably start with that hire, but okay, great. Now you unplug from that role and now you hire a bookkeeper. Now you hire a marketer. Now you hire a general manager. Now you hire, and all of a sudden one by one, you're filling these roles. You got your machine, you got your different functions, and one by one, you unplug yourself, plug in someone else that allows you to then, elevate until you're just sitting at the top there, being the leader, being the visionary, driving the vision, really, steering the ship. And I think that's how I want to help. Like, I think that's how we all should do it. That's what I did. That's what I want, and whether it's an FBA business, a software business, a service business, like the same, principles apply. The benefit of talking about this in the FBA space is that, like, overwhelmingly the functions and buckets that I'm sharing are, 80-20 applicable to everyone. And so it's like, I can just say, like, look, here's your org chart. These are the functions. Here's the job descriptions. Like, here, take it, there, like, it's done for you already, as opposed to, it's not being able to be as specific with other business models.
Well, I had Mike Zagari of PPC Entourage. He says it the best way I've always heard. He calls those MWAs, or minimum wage activities. He says the more you can take those off of your plate, the more successful and more time you can actually develop to building your business grow. And I love how he put that. Like, again, they're not like minuscule tasks. They're just tasks that you just don't have time for. They're time suck for you to scale and grow your business. Yeah, go ahead.
We'll say so on that. I mean, man, love Mike and love that he said that. And yeah, that's something that also like I've been talking about more, and I have all this stuff in my program, and I've, as I've been doing more, interviews and webinars, but this whole idea of really understanding our hourly rate. And I know when a lot of sellers hear this, there's a lot of like resistance, like, oh, like hourly rate, I don't trade my time for money. I'm an e-com seller, I don't have an hourly rate. But, and I remember like I got into, FBA and e-commerce because I didn't want to trade my time for money. But the thing that everyone has to realize is everybody has an hourly rate. Like and everybody in, it's, it might not be dependent on the, your inputs, the hours you work, and your outputs, the income you make. I'm not saying it's a one-to-one, like exactly correlated thing, but what I am saying is that necessarily, I mean, assuming your business is making money, then you have income. And in order to get that income, you do work. Therefore, income divided by hours you worked equals hourly rate.
Hourly rate. Yep. The math is there. Yeah. People can't like escape that. Like I understand a lot of people want to either get away from their quote 9 to 5, and then this is something that's gonna be freeing of that. But that's with hard work and scale. That doesn't come like in the beginning or like, hey, I'm launching one product. It's gonna be 10 hours a week. Like you're gonna fail fast if that's the case. We actually had a couple questions in comments as well since you were talking. Francois, who's friend of the show from Novaland, actually said you'd enjoy Blitz Scaling by Reid Hoffman and Chris. Yeah, I think he was when you were talking about a couple books in that. But in terms of scaling, he said the first 1 to 3 positions you started to hire for scale.
Yeah.
Like,
so
how would you rank those for people?
Yeah. So I'll get to that in a second, just to finish the hourly rate thought, which is gonna tie into this. But yeah. So what's important? So like realize we all have an hourly rate. The income you make divided by the hours you work, and for many people that are running FBA businesses, the hourly rate can be quite high. Calculate this. Like let's say if you're making let's say you're making 10 grand a month profit, and let's say you're working 100 hours a month, and therefore 100 hours a month, so is that 25 hours a week, 10K a month income, your hourly rate then is $100 an hour, which I mean, not too bad. And the thing is, and this is where what Mike said, and what I love how he said this is, we can talk and we'll get into the roles and which ones I hired to unplug and scale. But like, let's say as an example, an Amazon admin role, you can hire for sure, $500 to $1,000 a month, just so $8 an hour, $7 an hour, not, whatever, go crazy, $10 an hour. So, all right, so let's look at that Amazon admin role, customer service, listing issues, flat files, dealing, responding to reviews. Okay, so if you can get an amazing person for $10 an hour, and your hourly rate is $100 an hour, if you at $100 an hour is fulfilling a $10 an hour role, the delta, the difference in that gap is just destroyed value. Right. And that's what Mike's saying. The minimum hourly rate or minimum wage roles or whatever.
Activities, the MWAs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how he said that. They came out of nowhere, and I was like, I will always hold on to that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mike Zagari.
Yeah, and so let's look at to answer the question. We'll look at some of the first roles to unplug from and what their hourly rates are. And so I think the easiest place to start is, the Amazon admin function, customer service, monitoring your listings, just like dealing with Amazon stuff as it happens, which as we all know happens. And so that's, I think that's good for a relatively quick, easy win. And so, okay, so there's one role. Another one, I mean, bookkeeping is another one that, like, I mean, a lot of people aren't even on top of this as much as they should be, but they should, and they need to be if they want to sell their business. And they want to actually like, if you want to scale, it's incredibly important to like understand your numbers, and otherwise it can be a disaster. And so, that's another easy one to hire for. You can get tons of, great bookkeepers for, again, $500 a month or something like that. Much lower likely than your hourly rate. And then the other one that I'd say is another good place to start is, so you want to think about this. You can either go from like lowest hanging fruit, bottom up, or go from the ones that are the most frustrating for you and then go down. And so that's like, getting supply chain management was one for me that I said was really like, I didn't like that. And so that was a role that I prioritized filling faster, because I knew that filling that role was going to have, a bigger impact on my well-being, because I didn't enjoy it. And so yeah, I mean, those are a couple good ones to start with. I'd say Amazon admin, bookkeeping, and supply chain management. And if you can get those off your plate, it's, your life's going to be so different.
What do you think is the most, the popular position that people hire for that's unnecessary in your eyes?
Oh, well, I think
we can be brutally honest on here. You can call out people. It's fine.
I mean, I'll say the biggest mistake I think I see or hear people making, and this like, I mean, is this whole like the myth of this like, jack of all trades VA that's gonna, run your business for you. And then like, and people tell me like, oh, Nate, like, yeah, can you help me I'm looking for a VA that can handle customer service and do some design work and manage some Amazon stuff and help with supply chain and help with this. And I want to pay, $400 a month, for this. And the thing is, and people, they think, oh, they hear like, VA, and they think that means they can do anything. And the thing that people need to realize is that like the entrepreneur superpower is the ability to wear many hats. Like that's what we're good at. We're not, we have strengths and skills, but like the entrepreneur, ability is to do many things. And you try this and you try that and you do this, and, you do whatever it takes to, achieve your goals and build your business. And so people think because that's how they work, like me, like I've done a whole lot of different stuff, in my career. And so it's easy to think, oh, okay, well, yeah, right now I'm managing supply chain, and I'm managing our finances, and I'm managing our admin, and I'm managing our marketing, and I'm managing our product development. Oh, I'll just find someone else to do all of these things just like I'm doing it. And, and that's really going to set yourself up for failure, because most people that you're hiring, they're not entrepreneurs. They don't have that same entrepreneur superpower. And most people are much more comfortable doing the things that they're comfortable with in their lane, in their zone. And so, the mistake that people make is they're like, oh, I want someone, again, that's going to be doing, data entry and, these like tedious, micro activities. And they're going to be doing, design work and this, and they're going to talk to suppliers. And it's like, when I hear that and in the way that, so that's, I think, a recipe for failure is they think, oh, I'll just hire one person who's going to do everything for me because that's what I'm doing. And that's, again, I don't think that that's generally effective. And instead, the way that you want to do it is like we talked about, there are different, buckets, and each of these different buckets, and we can talk about what skills are needed for success with the different buckets on Amazon. But like for someone to be effective in the role of supply chain management, they're going to need different skills and abilities than someone to be effective in the role of, new product development or Amazon marketing. And the thing is, these different functions, they have different, there's like the hard skills, and then there's the like things we enjoy doing. So supply chain, you're going to want someone who's, very organized, organized, detail oriented, a lot of setting up and managing trackers, they gotta love that versus, say a graphic designer. And people like people think that like they can just throw on graphic design, and I don't know. Like they always
I have a visual communications background, and I hate when people are like, "Yeah, just create a logo for me, and you're good."
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, they just throw on like, oh yeah, like use Canva and make some images and and like the thing is you tell someone who's very detail oriented, spreadsheets, loves things to be correct and fit into their things, and like there are people that they get pleasure from that, and like those are the ones that you want managing your supply chain. They want they get pleasure and well-being from things running correctly, from them being organized, for them being on top of it. And you know what? You tell that person to go like, design a product image on Canva and they're going to go freaking nuts. And so,
exactly.
And vice versa. You take I've got this great girl. She's helping me with some design work. Yeah. Maybe she can help me, with bookkeeping too. And it's like, look, like these are very different like skill sets of what you're going to need to have success. And so the mistake I see people make is they try to just get like, oh, I'll get a VA and they'll do everything for me. When the reality is in what I think you have a lot more success with is getting, specific people with specific, skills for specific roles. And, you can do this in a very cost-effective way because a lot of these roles, they don't need to be full-time. So, okay, maybe you have a supply chain person starting at 10 hours a week and you have, an admin assistant for, maybe they're full-time or 20 hours a week. I mean, it's a cheap, role to fill. Your bookkeeper is also part-time. You have someone working on new products, that's also part-time. And, you combine everything and you get, 1.5 full-time people or whatever, but it's split up between, 5 or 6 specialists that are really good and well fit to do the roles that they're doing. And then you're going to have happier people that are better at what they're doing, that are working harder, that are going to stay with you longer. Yes, exactly. Specialists versus generalists. And this also isn't to say that you can't teach people to do things, but you got to understand like how people are wired and that we're all wired differently. And so, for me, like, you could teach me to manage supply chain well, or I mean, I guess I know how to manage supply chain well, but like me doing that role is like, I'm going to hate it. It's just not a fit for me. But, and the role that is a fit for me is stuff like this, like very intentionally. I love doing interviews. I love creating content. I love sharing. And like, that's my role. I'm specializing in this. And like, yes, like, versus trying to do everything myself. And so yeah, I think we covered quite a bit there.
I mean, there's a lot. There's one more question that actually I wanted to hit on top of what came in from the audience. And I think it kind of is a 2-part. Again, from Francois, he said, is there an inflection point? Like, is there a SKU number or is there a revenue amount that you need to hit in order to really start thinking about that? Is that I mean, to measure? I wouldn't say that is the case.
So I'd say, I mean, a rule of thumb is if you have more money than time, then hire earlier. If you have more time than money, hire later. But, and I mean, so that's, one, thing to keep in mind. But then the other one is like what I mean, okay, so look at Sellerplex as an example. And so that business, I've been, we've been around for a couple of years, been building it for a couple of years. And, from the beginning, I was very, like my objective with Sellerplex and the role that I wanted to play with Sellerplex was very clear to me. I wanted to be the CEO, the leader, and I didn't want to be the one, doing these different functions, account managing, project managing. And so for me with Sellerplex, over the years, I've invested more in it's more important to me and my priorities. It's more about getting the right people in place to manage the business for me so that I'm not a bottleneck, so that now the business is at a place where it's able to scale more and it doesn't depend on me. And, but constantly that's a reinvestment. So I could have, so it's okay. With Sellerplex, with this example, I have more money than time. Therefore, I built my team, better and earlier and got amazing people in place to handle all of these things, including a general manager who, 97%, runs the business, so that I do stuff like this. And, and so reinvesting earlier in getting more people in place. And again, that's because with Sellerplex, I have more money than time. And so it's like my priority. I'd rather invest in the team if that means that I'm able to, focus on the areas that I want to and not the areas that I don't want. And now though, but fast forward, now the business is at a place where it's much easier for us to grow and scale because I'm so not involved in these things. Because the business is growing and we're, adding all these team members and this and that. And we're able to do that without me being a bottleneck because, I invested in getting the right people and infrastructure in place first so that now so now it's not dependent on me. And what that meant practically is the first year or more growing the business, I was mostly reinvesting in more people. So I short-term sacrificed my profit margin, but same with similar with FBA, product businesses. You're growing, you got to reinvest in more inventory, and so that's what I was doing, with my team, and now that now I mean it's there's more profit for me because there's better people that run the business and I don't have to. So we can scale, we can grow more, we can do more work that's not dependent on me, which makes me more money later because I was reinvesting it, earlier. And the same general thing applies to product business, to FBA. And so, the more you reinvest in the short, medium term, assuming it's good, you're making smart investments, right. That's going to allow you to then grow a bigger, better, faster business, in the future.
So I have a quick question before the top of the hour and we have to hop off. Where are you finding these people? What for people who are I don't know where to look, I don't want to go with the freelancer and regret my decision. How do I find trusted individuals to scale my business?
Yeah. Upwork for me is a big one. I've hired literally hundreds of people, on Upwork over the years, all kinds of roles. That's still my go-to. Upwork, onlinejobs.ph. There's Facebook groups. Dynamite Jobs is another one. Those are the main places that we hire from.
You're probably not hiring people who solicit themselves on Instagram pages and you're like, hey, do you sell on Amazon? And I can help you grow to a 7-figure business.
So here's the thing. And this is what, the core thing to success with hiring that, we didn't even get to talk about, but what a lot of people miss is you got to set up an effective hiring funnel. So most people, they approach hiring, oh, hey, I have a job. You want to work for me? Cool, great. Let's get started. And that's a recipe for disaster. Or they're like, oh, sure, you're interested. Let's have an interview. And you just try to fit everything in and just waste of your time, their time. Anyway, the what you should do is set up a hiring funnel. And so this is what my course is about. One of the main things is it talks about the roles that you need, and then to fill them is about, setting up your hiring funnel. And of the benefits of doing this is when you have the funnel, it doesn't matter where they come from because you put them through your process that then is going to pump out, the candidates that you're looking for. And so when you have a hiring funnel, you get some random people spamming you on Instagram. Hey, I can help you this or that. Instead of, it takes you like 10 seconds you can send them a link to the start of your funnel. Hey, like, here's the job posting and here's the initial questions. If you're interested, fill this out, and that's going to start the process. And then you move them through the process like everyone else. And if they go through the process and they pump out the other side, the point of a funnel is you put in a bunch of stuff at the top, and then each stage of the way, you're going to filter the ones that aren't a fit, as well as the ones that are a fit are going to stay. And then, they go through these couple of different steps, and then out the bottom, you have, qualified applicants, and, and like having that funnel is that's the key. And, and then where you get people to fill them, it doesn't matter, Instagram, Facebook groups, Upwork, here, there, whatever, you've got the system that you just dump people into. And then they, if they're the right fit, then they're going to come out the bottom. And that's when you have the interview and the conversation, when you already, you've put them through the process, and they are going to be a good chance they're going to be able to help. So yeah.
Look at that. We did it. One of the best podcasts I've listened to in a long time. Francois, that's huge compliment. Thank you so much, sir. He's in logistics. So when we were talking about that and who to hire and who to scale, he's the guy to go to in terms of that. So we appreciate you listening and kind of following along in this whole hour. We've already breezed through an hour. We didn't even get into too much in depth already, Nate. So we're gonna have to do like part 2, part 3, part 4, or something like that in terms of building your infrastructure. But for everyone who wants to learn more information about you, kind of pick your brain, go through Sellerplex, your course. We talked about all those kinds of things. Where do they need to go, or how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, I'd say the best thing. So I publish a lot on my social media, Facebook, Instagram. And if you're interested in any of the stuff that I'm saying, like, go add me on Facebook, add me on Instagram. And yeah, like I talk about all this kind of stuff. And yeah, like if that vibes with you, if that's interesting to you, you'll find, or you'll see other opportunities for us to work together, whether it's, with Sellerplex, or the course is dreamteammachine.com. It's actually relaunching it's being delayed, but in maybe a week or so we'll be relaunched. But yeah, like I will be talking about these things on my social media. I mean, as well as other things. It's very not, you can decide for yourself if you think it's like, promo-y or whatever, but yeah, connect on social, and we can see if we get along, and
exactly.
Some
you have to be cool. You have to be cool to get in with Nate. Like it's been tough. Tough to work my way in with you, man. But yeah, there's also mastermind groups that you're running and a part of too. So also very much talking at a high level in terms of, you exited a business. There's that side of things. How to scale businesses is kind of your forte. So hiring and scaling and obviously exiting are all things in your wheelhouse. You and I are also, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for for another talk that we're both both a part of. So Gary Wong, who is also a friend of the show, he shared 7 tips for 7-figure sellers to grow their business to 7 figures in 2021. I think I did it right. I call it my 777 episode. But there's a lot of 7. So he did that last week. But if you're interested in learning more tips like this, I know Nate, you share a lot of nuggets in that video. I also shared a lot of information in terms of international growth and expansion and saving money. So you and I are both part of that, but there's like 30 of us that are in the space that are sharing our top tips for 2021. So again, shameless plug for Gary Wong in the 7-Figure Seller Summit. So Gary, we're promoting this for you, man. I think there's around, like he said something like 5,000 participants already, or we're trying to get to that. So that's a really cool event that we're both speaking in as well. So Nate, thank you so much again for joining us today on Crossover Commerce. Again, friend of the show now. I know you have so much going on, so it's really cool to hear your story and what you did to grow your business and kind of all the opportunities you're growing. I know a lot of people are excited for 2021 moving forward. Is there anything in particular you're looking forward to most?
Man, I mean, a lot. I mean, I guess I'd say like, we didn't even get into like, growth, development, mindfulness, but like what I'm excited for, honestly, is like doing more things that I enjoy, having an impact in the way that I want to have an impact, working with people that I get excited about working and helping and serving, and everyone winning together. Like that's what I'm excited about.
Awesome. I love that. And you stay right there. And now I'm going to kind of count us out real quick. Again, everyone, thank you, Nate, for joining us on Crossover Commerce. Again, this is episode 51 of our show. We go live almost every single day. I'm going live every day this week, especially in the business week. Tomorrow, we're going to do a seller spotlight on a person who actually I'm really excited to talk to tomorrow. Her name is Christina. She was a former flight attendant who, obviously, with travel restrictions going on, had to find a different income, and she sold on Amazon. She started selling on Amazon. Now she's doing a service with copywriting. She's successful on Amazon, and she's really growing her business to a new level. Told me personally, I don't know what I'm going to do if the airline industry, when it goes back to normal, I might just stick with Amazon fully. So we're going to hear her story tomorrow, again, on Crossover Commerce. If you're new to the show, again, go ahead and subscribe on our social media channels on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We go live and we make notifications when we do have shows going on. So next week, again, we'll also have, I think, 4 episodes. Not going crazy next week, only 4. But we have a lot of awesome guests again next week as well. Thank you for joining us live again on all those social media platforms. And then also for listening to us on all the podcasts where you can download them on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or any other podcast service. I'm Ryan Kramer, the host of this show, Crossover Commerce. Thanks for joining us again. Join us again tomorrow for another great episode of the show. We'll talk to you guys later.